Is it a?
Is there a vote or? Yes, please vote.
Sorry.
Oh, if you vote before that comes up, it doesn't count.
5 ayes, motion carries.
So we have approved the agenda. Next, we will move into closed session, conference with legal counsel, potential litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection B, claim of Anderson. All right, so we're going to start off with our regular session. If I could have everyone stand for a Pledge of Allegiance, followed by an invocation. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer if you would. Lord, thank you for giving us this day. Lord, thank you for this town of Ridgecrest where we live and cherish. Lord, bless all the good things which we do in this community, Lord. Be with all the service organizations as they serve this community. Lord, I pray for our country. Give the leaders of our country the direction to lead this country, Lord. I pray for the city council, Lord, the staff at the city. Lord, give them your wisdom as we undertake so many projects, Lord. Lord, be with us as we discuss important issues that are beneficial to this community. Let our decisions be acceptable to all the community, Lord. Bless each one of us here today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Next, we have the attorney report out of closed session.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members. One item was covered in closed session and deliberated by the council, and that was claim filed on behalf of Ms. Armstrong, and the council unanimously rejected the claim. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we move to public comment of items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Council will not respond to any comments, but may provide direction to staff to collect information. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not act on an item that does not appear on this agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. Are there any public comments?
Hello, Mike Lasitra. I think about 2 months ago at a budget meeting, the mayor directed the city manager on finding an alternative for Placer AI, and just looking for an update if any alternatives were located and if the renewal of Placer AI is going to go through. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tom Wicknick. I want to just go back a little bit of my comments about some corporate history for the city, and it involves KernCog. Okay? And KernCog really is important to the city of Ridgecrest, that we participate in that and actively participate that and develop relationships with the other board members, which includes our county supervisor, of course. These members are important for getting any kind of agenda through, and they have to vote on these things to get them approved. Well, just a couple of little examples of when I was on KernCog, and this will go back a few years, but it has to do with relationships and developing good understanding of what the KernCog is supposed to do. Back in the day, a few years ago, remember the call boxes they put along the freeways? You know, they're all probably all gone now. But at that time, KernCog was funding call boxes to go out on numerous main roads out there, which is fine. But I happened to attend a meeting, and no call boxes for this side of the valley on either 14 or 395. No call boxes scheduled for out here. And I said, why not? The answer I got was, well, 14 and 395 aren't freeways or interstate freeways. I go, neither is Route 99, and they're getting all kinds of call boxes. And the executive director at the time, oh, well, Tom is right. So I guess we need the board to take action on that and see what we can do about call boxes over on 14 and 395. Guess what? That one thing put call boxes on 14 and 395 by participating and having a good relationship and a supervisor that supported this side of the valley. Next, let's talk about the Bowman 178 freeway. At one point, we had a meeting at Kerncog, and the executive director just made a little comment that, well, you know, we're not going to be building the 178 freeway. Caltrans has abandoned it. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're just going to return the right-of-way to all the jurisdictions adjoining it, from San Luis Obispo all the way through California. And I thought, wait a minute. We've had discussions of the Bowman Road being a bypass for the city of Ridgecrest for trucking to keep chemicals out of the center of the city and use Bowman instead. So I said, well, we're not going to do that, but can we at least keep the right-of-way? Can we have the city keep their right-of-way? Can we have the county keep their right-of-way? John McQuiston's sitting there, he goes, that's a good idea. Let's at least keep the right-of-way, even if we never do anything with it, because getting a right-of-way late in the future will be almost impossible. So guess what? Caltrans turned it back over. Kerncog and the city of Ridgecrest now have the Bowman Road right-of-way. That's what's being involved in, using Kerncog to help the whole valley. Then we have 395. That 395 project, that seems like it'll probably never get done. When I was on the council last time, I saw all the plans, and the drawings were probably 10 feet long that we looked at. And it was about 10 years down the road scheduled. I guess now it's probably still about 10 years down the road. While we're still at China Lake Boulevard and China Lake, repairing that guardrail out there for accidents that are happening. They just repaired the guardrail out there for 2 separate accidents going through that guardrail. Skip, you're a 395 advocate. And here they are. We're still having accidents, and this freeway keeps getting pushed out and pushed out and pushed out. Why? Okay, I know. Funding, priorities. Well, we need to have power and exercise some power over Kerncog to change those priorities or get those priorities for us. It's time for that to happen. And our supervisor has to help make that happen. Oh, but wait, he does all kinds of stuff for us. Oh, yeah. What's he done so far? Oh, we pay more for fire services. We still don't have a jail over here. What else has he done? Let's see. Oh, he tried to get the board of supervisors to have a meeting to support those AB bills in Sacramento. We all know how that went. Went down in flames. So what else has he done? Has he paved any roads over here? Has he done anything for the people other than support the GA? My point in all this is that you, as a council, need to start advocating for the entire valley, and you need help to do it. Get help to do it, whatever you need to do. Start getting things done for us, things that we care about and affect us every day, like 395, which I'll probably be dead before that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, the lights are red. All right. Next, I'll move to council announcements and direction. Any members of council have any announcements or direction?
A brief and spontaneous one. Will be visited in a couple of weeks, I think, by the newly named Kerncog CEO, a complicated last name, an easy first name, Jay Schlosser. We get to sit down with him, and indeed, he'll give a presentation here. So be sure to come and ask him questions. Announcements. I guess I'll make this announcement now. I want to encourage anybody who's not been to the theater, Burroughs High School Theater, to see Mary Poppins stage presentation. I saw it. My wife and I went and saw it last weekend, enjoyed the heck out of it. And I think this Friday, if you get tickets, you can come in costume, dressed up in any Disney costume you like. I'll bet you we see lots of Tinkerbells, because it's the RMES presentation of Mary Poppins is mostly for kids, but it's wonderfully extravagant and noisy. You'll love it. That's all I had.
Thank you. I want to highlight City Nights will be happening this Saturday. I encourage all the community to come out, partake in the local vendors, mingle, get back to, that sense of community that I know that this town is great with. So, any other council announcements, directions?
Is city manager going to give an update on pool in the manager's report?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
We'll also wait a comment from the public about Placer.
Yeah, I was going to get to it at the end,
Oh,
unless we,
no, it's not, it's over to you guys. I know that was your conversation, it's not my business.
yep. All right, moving on, consent calendar. All items listed on consent are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent calendar and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item before action is taken. There are 2 consent items and they are listed on the posted agenda. Does any member of the council wish to have an item pulled? No? Does any member of the public wish to have an item pulled? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, so moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Next, we will move on to discussion or action items. First is number 3, proposed approval for the expenditure of park impact fees to install permanent fencing on the JV and varsity softball fields at the Leroy Jackson Sports Complex in the amount of $65,000.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
So I bring before you a project that would install outfield fencing on the JV and varsity softball fields. This is something that has been brought to Parks and Rec in the city for 8+ years. It's been requested by Burroughs as well as other users. The benefits of doing this would be that the youth girls would not have to set up temporary fencing before and clean it up after games. It would allow Burroughs High School to be able to host CIF-sanctioned games, and it also would allow our IWV League to qualify to host all-star, potentially national championship level games. We also have sat down with all the different groups that are using those fields currently, and after some discussion back and forth, the city and them came to an agreement on size of the fields that will allow the adults to still play. We'll still be able to hold the overnight tournaments, and then the youth girls will still have the fields the way they need them. So after consulting with all the various groups and working with Travis on measurements of the field to make sure that the fencing would be placed appropriately, the city determined that this would actually be a good investment for the city to do. Some other good things for it would be that we would have the ability to lock the fields down too in order to perform maintenance if we need to close one. We could actually do that. Right now, everything is kind of open. So there's a lot of positives to it. So with that, I'm asking council to be able to use $65,000 of park impact fees. to get this project completed. And I know that there's an error on the resolution. It says $5 instead of $5,000. So I'd like to note that and correct it. So with that, I'm open to questions.
No questions from me, just because I was sort of a part of the process, and you guys were already working it. I appreciate that. I appreciate how you got a lot of stakeholder buy-in. You were talking to everybody to make sure that worked out. You're always working to improve the fields, and it's a steady, continuous, and that was a good conversation to have with all the stakeholders, for them to say and be able to echo to the parents. Narissa, Parks and Rec, you guys are always working on things, so I appreciate that.
And Travis.
And Travis.
That, Travis.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. Travis gets enough credit. There was
So-
only one other small little tiny typo. I'll point it out to it.
Okay.
It was nothing.
Any other questions or comments?
Who is the contractor for this job?
So this project was bid competitively with the AHSC project. We're using, what fencing company? Union. Union Fencing will be doing the project.
And they have done some job for us previously, or?
He probably has used them.
Good evening, Council. So Union Fencing has done numerous jobs for us. They are a sub to Griffith Company. We got a very, very good fencing price, one that I hadn't seen in over 10 years, for slatted chain link fence. They did the recent slatted chain link fence at Kerr-McGee, and they also put the fence up around the Bowman Channel. So
Thank you.
So I guess I'll ask a question. All of these seem positive, good results. Is there, what's the operation, or like the maintenance of the fence? I guess another added benefit that just popped in my head now, they can post sponsorships or anything
Yeah,
on
they'll
the
be
fence?
able to put banners on the fences, and the dead space in between the fences, we'll be removing the grass, and we'll put DG there. We'll be able to move the C-Vans also down in that area, so they're closer for them.
Are we also including some sort of warning track around those fences? Is there any thought to tilling that up to provide a warning track so that?
not at this time. Like I
Okay.
said, most of the stuff from talking with varsity softball and with the JV field being the larger of the two, you're not going to see very many balls, I think, hit to the fence on JV.
Okay.
And varsity made no mention of wanting a warning track.
Okay, and for the city, or the use groups of the adults that use it, is
They
there?
don't, they have never mentioned a warning track
Okay.
either.
Yeah, that's all I had. All right, are there any public comments? Seeing none? Okay, do I have a motion?
Narissa's, forgive me,
Nope.
Mr. Chairman, I have an easy follow-up, jumping sports ever so slightly. I know the pickleball community, the vociferous pickleball community came forward recently with a proposal that you've been juggling. Have any headway been made on that?
Can I comment on that? Okay. Yes, we have come up with a solution of temporarily, well, they're semi-permanent pickleball nets that the city is helping with the purchase of.
Terrific, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, do I have a motion
Motion to approve.
and a second?
Second?
Motion and second.
Thank you.
Next, we have a discussion or action item number 4, discussion regarding the Board of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority.
Up here. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the board, the GA did meet. We had 3 primary agenda items, which I will go over. Item number 9 was the Provost and Pritchard Environmental Change Order for Revegetation and Restoration Plan. So that was approved, and basically, it entails bringing the vegetated areas back up to a pre-disturbed level. And so they were running just a little bit over on the budget on that. Item number 10 was Provost and Pritchard's design change orders for trenchless crossing and corrosion design. And that one was again approved and dealt with, I believe it was 7 additional trenchless borings that they need to do. And some work with the corrosion design of some of the metal, either pipe or tanks. And so that was also approved. 11 was approval of the contract services agreement with Blue Mountain Development for supportive services for the imported water project. Blue Mountain Development has extensive background with overseeing very large projects across the country, and they also have a lot of experience in working as a liaison and with the Army Corps of Engineers. So they will be taking a look at the imported water pipeline project and overlooking it, overseeing it, and also working as a liaison with the Army Corps of Engineers and their, the Army Corps is a part of the construction of the pipeline. And that was also approved. And with that, I'll bring it back to the board for any questions or comments.
Any questions? So last time you gave an update on the, did they talk about the, okay.
Very minimal. I think basically I was kind of deflated a little bit when I brought it up to him briefly with the resource water manager, Stetson, Steve Johnson. I believe they're looking at some of the seismic, pre-existing seismic data.
Okay.
But he's going to follow up with it and give us some update on it. So when I do get it, so my apologies on that, because the way I interpreted it when he first mentioned it was that they were going to be, looking at some new type of seismic stuff. But anyway, so I'll follow up on that.
And excuse my lack of knowledge or ignorance, trenchless drilling.
So that's boring under the surface. So instead of trenching across, like say a wash or mainly washes in areas or roads. They'll do it in case of like going under a road versus over the top, but they use equipment to go in and bore underground and. Yep.
Is that more advantageous for longevity or?
Yeah, I think in certain
situations?
Yeah, each individual instances they're moving that or putting that pipe across. Sometimes they'll go high, sometimes low, sometimes through.
Okay.
So.
Any other comments, questions? Any public comments?
Thank you. First, I want to say that I watched the meeting, that last meeting you had, and I'll admit I haven't watched them like I should have. So there's a lot of things I don't know about what's going on with the GA, compared to some people. But anyway, one thing I did notice, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, did I hear it right that you're nearing 90% design for the pipeline?
Correct.
So we're at about a 90% level, and but there was some talk about there was a little conflicting things and going beyond that. And can you enlighten me on that?
So as far as one being power with Edison, some of the areas that they're still having to work with, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so one was working out the power infrastructure with Edison. The other two were part of what I discussed tonight. I believe that's primarily the.
Okay. Do you have a goal for when that 90% plan would be probably ready?
I do. I don't have my notes with me today. I brought my whole packet. I got 3 months of meetings here. But the last month's meeting, I'm going off of the agenda before me, so I don't have the exact date.
Okay.
I want to say it was in this fall. Maybe, Ron, if you happen to remember, we're looking at this fall as far as the.
Yeah, they're looking at beginning of next year,
Yeah.
right? The 90% design does take a while. Once it gets to 90% design, like we have with the wastewater facility, there's a lot that needs to happen between that 90% and 100%.
Yeah. I'm not being critical. I'm just asking questions. That's
No.
all.
Yeah.
But sometime next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're getting close.
Slight, just a minor request, if it's at all possible, would it be sometime for your part of this meeting to maybe have on the screen behind us the route you know, on a map, like on a topo map or something like that of the routing of this pipeline so we can see it? Because I don't know where it goes. I hear people saying, well, it goes over here, it goes over there. I think it'd be nice to maybe have a public thing here anyway to let people know of Ridgecrest, the actual route of that.
So do you know basically where it's going? I mean, I can tell you.
Well, I think, I'd like to see a map to see where it crosses the road and stuff like that, just those details.
Yeah, Councilman Heyman, that'd probably be more appropriate for that to be handled at the Groundwater Authority. I know a lot of this information is currently on the Groundwater Authority's website, to where you can go access it, and those documents are there.
Right. I just thought it would be nice to share that with people that don't go to the websites and that are interested in it. Just, you know, I know there's not a lot of people here, but people do watch on TV, and let the people see it. Suggestion, if you don't want to do it, fine. But I will offer a compliment on the meeting, and I've always said that, even though I sometimes don't like what you guys do, this time I have a compliment for you, Scott. Near the end of the meeting, you had this, the executive manager give their portion of information, just like our city manager does at the end of the meeting. And it was informative, what she said. But then you did something that I thought was fantastic. At the end of her comments, you said, any public comment? And I'm sitting in home thinking, wow. He asked for public comment after the manager's report, and you did get public comment. And the public comment was a very good exchange of information. The questions were answered, she answered them, public got the question answered. I thought you did great, is what I'm trying to say, by allowing public comment when people are interested in something after the manager's report. I just want you to know, I thought that was great. You handled that fine.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, lights are red. All right. Move on to item number 5. Council's consideration of rules of order for council meetings.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, council members. This item has been requested some time ago due to my illness and a couple of other intervening causes. We're bringing it to you today. The genesis for this was a discussion among the council about the authority of a single council member or 2 council members placing an item on the agenda and the process by which the council should proceed with that particular issue. At your request, we've done some research, and it turns out that in 2017, council was presented with draft rules of conduct and order, and that's the Exhibit A to my staff report. They're pretty fundamental. They're not complex, but for whatever reason, council did not take any action on those rules in 2017. I also included as Exhibit B rules of conduct which are far more detailed and much more encompassing, just so you have a point of reference. A couple of things to keep in mind as you think about this and deliberate. Obviously, once adopted, these rules should be complied with. So my recommendation would be do not put anything in there that you don't wish to be bound by. Obviously, I'm not talking about things that are not legal, but just as an example, our meetings are run more like a town hall meeting rather than a public comment meeting where there is a dialogue and exchange. Some of these rules, I think the more detailed rules provide for a much tighter process in running meetings. So I would encourage you to, hopefully you have looked them over, have a discussion, and your choices are on the spectrum. You can just tell staff to forget about it, and we continue to do it the way we've been doing it. You can choose to adopt either one of the 2 versions, the pretty fundamental one or a pretty detailed one, and obviously anything in between. This is not the last meeting that I expect you will have on this issue if you decide to move forward with some sort of set of rules. I'll be sitting and taking notes, and if there is a direction from the majority of you to alter either one of these two templates in some fashion, add something, remove something, change something, I'll do my best to keep notes, and if I miss something, I'll listen back to the recording. But with that, I'm ready to answer any questions.
Any council comments, questions?
Sure, so I did read them through, read both templates. I thought template B was a bit restrictive and just a lot. And I think if you go look at other cities, other communities, they're running their stuff largely based off of, if it's not Brown Act, it's Rosenberg's Rules of Order. Rosenberg seems to make sense to me. Template A seems like the logical way to go. So I think we either go with forget about the conversation, in my opinion, or template A. Both of those are logical to me.
Actually, I was the one who requested this item to be placed on the agenda because when we had AB 1314, we had an issue where whether we have to vote or how many people have to give a nod, or so that's what made us to bring this item to discuss. I mean, even when we were talking about this, when the AB 1314 came twice for discussion, first time city clerk said we need 3 nods, and second time we didn't ask for a nod. So there is no set rule how we are going to add an item to the agenda. So I think it is very important we should have something written and follow the same. And I read through both the templates, and my preference is template A with some changes so that we cover some of the items which are not covered in template A. So I don't know if you want me to go through this template at this time, or should I wait for others to talk? I'll wait for others to talk and then come back to this.
It's up to the mayor, however he wants to.
Yeah, let's get other, so far it's 2 for A. Councilman Gorman, Councilman Hayman, comments?
Not at this moment, but
Okay.
I'll work into it.
I concur with Councilman Blades that I chose to embrace Exhibit A, the shorter of the 2 offerings from council, and have no changes except one under the agenda, the first paragraph, but the last sentence. There's a word in there that makes the whole sentence meaningless and awkward, and that word is without. I think it would make some sense if the word without was simply removed. I sincerely appreciate it being spelled out that if a council member chooses to suggest an item for the forthcoming agenda, the next meeting, that at least 2 councilmen shall be listed on the agenda in order, that would be placed on the agenda at, again, chairman's discretion if at least 2 council members agree. And spelling it out that way, and by the way, that's at variance with the longer Exhibit B, where it's 3 councilmen, which would be different. So I'm glad to see that. There it is in writing, hokey smoke. We can now know what needs to be done to get something on the agenda. That's it. Thank you.
So I just want to say, I think a majority of the council to approve an agenda item is appropriate. I think we could waste a lot of time on the council to have issues brought up that are not in the majority of the council's interest to pursue. And I don't see any reason to drop it down to 2, or you might, if you're going to do 2, you might as well drop it down to 1. And just say anybody can bring up an agenda item and that we should put it on the agenda. I really think a majority of the council, a lot of other boards adhere to that policy. It works. Many times on the GA, someone will bring up, they want a particular agenda item, and, it's brought to the board. The board has an opportunity at that point to say, yeah, I support that, or no, I don't, or it's just silence. If there's no attention given to the item at that point in time, then the person that's wanting to have that heard they could bring more attention to it, down the road. So I think it should be a majority, because that's what we make decisions based on, is a majority decision process of the council.
So I'll take the opposite stance for you. Apologize, but when we're approving things, it's only 2 council members needed for a motion and a second. And I think, to me, that's good enough to get it on. And if it gets to the whole council and we don't like it, at least I think the individual will have had their say. The council can talk about it, and if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. But I still think that there are issues that need to be addressed. And if we have constituents who are asking for us that they want to see something, I think it's our right to represent the citizens and at least see if we can have more of a discussion on it. And that's where I stand on that one.
I could actually argue both sides of it. Both sides have their merits. So on one hand, I would say that what Councilman Hayman's proposing is, you could very well get in a loop where you're creating items and creating staff work and churn because that's exactly what happens. Every single thing that goes on this agenda causes a lot of work on their part. And every time that, they work pretty hard just to reach these deadlines and get there. Now, and what we're not seeing currently, and haven't as long as I've been here, is a case where people, like things aren't making it, where city business isn't getting done, where people are being stifled, where voices are being stifled. The last 5 years, that hasn't happened. So that could very well be my argument for Councilman Hayman's point. On the other turn of the coin, I could see where if you had a case where this was a very divided and tumultuous community, and you had stuff that just was not being allowed and constantly forced off the agenda, then that's when you would want to take the Councilman Gorman approach. So those are the 2 different sides. So one, you keep it to where the staff and the city council are moving at a clip and things are a lot more streamlined. Right now, we don't have an issue with people's voices being stifled. Things make it through committees. People come up here, everybody's voice is heard. All of us, I can tell you that if I receive an issue from the community, the very first thing I do, Ron Strand. The very first thing I do, why do I have this? Why is this issue? Why is this that? Why is this that? And I don't know about the rest of you, but that's what I'm on it. And in my mind, that's the way city business is supposed to work. And we've gotten away from things being, up here being a tumultuous storm, because our city staff has got to such a good point where they're doing their work, they're doing their job, they're doing what we ask. And I think it's also important to point out, the city manager and the lawyer are the only 2 people in this city who work at our will. City manager's not doing his job, I'm going to ask for his removal. Lawyer's not doing his job, I'm going to come to the city manager, I'm like, hey, time to go look for a new firm. And I have in past, especially during different closed sessions, I've asked for reviews. What's the lawyer firm doing? What are they doing for us? So those are all things to consider. That you can end up with a council where you're just churning out busy work for the staff, and we pay the city, the constituents pay the city staff a lot of money every day to get stuff out the door. So it's something to consider, both of those things.
So I take your point, and I have a very limited data set now for just 9 months maybe. I've been sitting up here. But there's very few items that I've heard in the 9 months and the year before I ran for actual future agenda items to actually be heard. And so, like, I get your stance. You know, I think, not that, you know, we should think as the average person or the rational individual, you know, won't act, you know, in their not best interest, right? But I don't see it as a problem, and maybe if it becomes a huge problem, then we think about it, and maybe that's what you were talking about, Martin, with the long-term effects of this.
Well, to be honest, Mr. Mayor, this conversation itself is almost redundant. We already have to approve an agenda by the majority. We already have that conversation. So as soon as we come and say approval of the agenda, we all are agreeing whether it's on there or whether it's not. So this conversation is, to me, in my mind, when this first came up, the whole reason we're having this conversation, it was natural to me to think, yeah, we should have a majority to put something on. Because we're just gonna, very next meeting, we're gonna be approving it. I didn't understand why we were having this conversation. I get that
It's the process of getting it on the agenda in the first place, right?
Sure.
Because that's the creation of us even having this conversation, right? Yes, we agree for the agenda as it's written, right? But I think the question is, do we need a majority to then approve the item to go on there, right? So are you saying that if we only have two individuals that say, yes, we want this on the agenda, once it comes to the approval of the agenda, that then we'll be in a hectic state of people saying, no, I want this off the agenda?
Well, I would say that's very well what you could have. And so what you then have is you have staff that went and worked to produce a staff report, and now it's on there, and now now it's gonna be voted down. Look, I was trying to give two sides of the argument, because honestly, I am good either way. I'm pretty laissez-faire about this, because either way, it'll work out how it works out. I'm just trying to say that I could definitely see Scott's point, where you might as well have a consensus, or you're just wasting staff's time.
So I'd like to add to that. I think there's a very distinct difference between approving, asking for a motion and a second on a agenda item that's already before us for a vote, and bringing up a possible agenda item before the board to make a decision on whether or not it's garnered enough support or attention to meet that standard or that level. That's two very different things. You have an agenda item before you tonight, not this particular one, or any night, that work has already been done, the format's been laid out, the pluses and minuses have been ironed out, and now we're going to make a vote on it. So that, to me, is two very distinct differences. And I think that for the sake of running meetings in a professional business, concise manner, I think it makes much more sense. Plus, I believe in the majority of rule in this governing body. I think that is something that I think should be adhered to.
Mayor, may I give some food for thought, if nothing else, to the council on this? In my experience, a lot of jurisdictions use the two-person rule. And the reason for that is if one council member can put an item on any agenda at any time, if you have, I'll say a rogue council member, that's probably not a good description, but somebody whose interests are very different from the remainder of the council, it would allow that person to crowd the agenda with items that the rest of the council doesn't want to hear. Having a second vote in that process of putting an item on the agenda at least gives some credibility to at least two of you wanting to see that item. And having three votes needed may create a situation where the majority controls the agenda all the time, and the minority can never get an item on the agenda unless everybody agrees. And I think the two is a number that, again, is used in other jurisdictions I've seen used. I think it makes sense. The two, even if they're the only two who wish to see the item, have the opportunity to put the item on the agenda, have public input, and perhaps convince one of the three of the remaining council members to vote in the direction, whatever that is. I'm just theorizing here, not doing any specific items. But, so that may be something that you might want to consider in your deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I spent the last few nights trying to read other cities' code of conduct or whatever, and two council members was the common theme. I did find a couple that it was three, but I think that their council was larger than 5 individuals.
Or they were very, very conflicted.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's standard among Rosenberg's rules of order, too. Yeah.
I know I cut you off. You had other things that you wanted to.
So we are deciding on 2 council members?
Among other things, if there's other things that, personally, I
So actually, so can we go back to, so Councilman Gorman had a good point about the wording of that sentence, exceptions can occur for items without.
Yeah, that word should not be in there.
yeah,
Okay.
That's a good catch, yes.
Yep.
points for Councilman Gorman. Good job. You do.
You get a star.
So how about adding an item during the meeting and deleting an item during the meeting? So we need to have something written about that.
I think,
What do you mean, Solomon?
Even after you start a meeting, you can still add an item or delete an item from the agenda.
Oh.
Right?
Well-
Is that right?
I don't know if I've ever seen that, but
What-
there
Once
is
the
the,
agenda is approved,
Right.
so before we start the meeting, can we delete an item or add an item to the agenda?
Under
You
emergency or
may
need-
not add an item unless it meets the emergency criteria
Right.
provided for in the Brown Act. By majority vote, you may choose to not hear any item that's on the agenda. If majority of you say, we don't want this item on the agenda,
because the same sentence that Councilman Gorman mentioned on exceptions that are time critical. as a-
Except you're not, okay, comes under that probably, yeah.
But with that sentence, right, it would still have to be 72 hours prior to the Wednesday city council meeting, so that doesn't answer your question.
Well, it does, because Brown Act prohibits adding stuff you have to be, if you don't, that 72-hour window.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
So I think we're limited
Okay,
for that.
yeah. Mr. Martin, on page 3, in view of item 17, item 10 is redundant, it is repeated twice. I think both mean the same, right? Page 3,
Yeah, item 17,
10 and 17.
7 and 17?
10, 1-0 and 1-7. 2 public comments.
10 and 17.
Or do we have 2 separate public comments?
Yes.
I think 17
Yeah,
takes,
17 should be
Yeah,
10.
That's correct. In some jurisdictions, and I didn't change what you had in your template in 2017, in some jurisdictions, there are 2 public comments, one at the beginning of the council meeting, one at the end. Historically, we only have one, so
One.
we should cross the 17 off, yeah.
okay, thank you. And then on the same page, for the minutes, it says, "Any direction for corrections in the minutes shall be made only by majority vote of the city council." So is that required? I mean, we never ask them to change the minutes or anything, right?
The city council takes action on approving the minutes. That action has to be by majority vote.
Okay.
So if there are amendments to the minutes which the council does not believe should be made, you may not, you may choose not to approve minutes as, with the with the proposed amendment. So yeah, you have the power to decide whether or not you want to accept an amendment to the minutes.
Makes sense, yeah.
So 17 and 10, going back real quick, 17 was the only one who limited 5 minutes, and then 10 did not. Do you still want to leave that open-ended, and then just, that's mayor's discretion?
I think that will
I
unnecessarily
would
create
move
problems.
17 up to 10, so it's not repeated, but so we have a full explanation.
Okay, makes sense.
And if I'm sorry if I didn't state it clearly before. I will, assuming that the council agrees on some version of this today, we will clean it up and bring it at the next meeting for formal adoption through a resolution.
All right, so I guess I want to ask a question of the council. Of your reading of the second version, the more in-depth.
Template B?
Yeah, template B, there we go.
Good.
Was there anything in there that is missing from ours that we could find as useful to add to template A? Because it seemed like most were in favor of template A. Am I?
To me, no, because the more I read through B, the more I thought this is just restrictive. And we're already pretty loosey-goosey with our council meetings. If you watch other cities, other communities, they're not as easygoing as we are. And I think that's a good thing. We can do that in this community, so we should if we can. Other cities can't. That's unfortunate for them, but we can here, so that's good. But I don't think we need to be as restrictive as B suggests.
Okay, and any other?
I think it has a clause here, failure to strictly observe these rules shall not affect the jurisdiction of the city. So we have leverage there.
Agreed.
Any other comments, questions about either template A or template B?
Makes sense.
Councilman Hayman?
No.
No?
So you will come up with a clean draft for our approval, or how does this work?
Yes, and I suggest that you take some public comment before you take any final action on this. But assuming that either by consensus, and I can basically just briefly go through the, at least changes that I've noted from, based on your discussion. And if we have consensus that those are the changes, at the next meeting, we'll have a resolution and a clean sheet for you to consider and adopt.
All right. Any other council comments before moving on to public comment? Okay. Are there any members of the public that wish to comment?
Well, as one that has sat up there on 2 different occasions under 4 different mayors, all I would say is that we just need to make it as simple as possible to get something on the agenda, not make it restrictive. I lean to go along with the 2-person thing. It seems fairly reasonable. The councils that I sat on, it was very easy to put something on the agenda, and it went something like this. Mr. Mayor, I'd like on an upcoming agenda to talk about the price of rice in China. And the mayor would look over at me, you want that on the agenda? Yes, thank you, sir. Mayor says, it'll be on the next agenda. That's simple. It was that simple. No discussion, just, and then somebody else might say, hey, I want to talk about too many trees up at the college. I want that on the agenda. And by the way, that was an issue one time at one of my council meetings, trees up on the college. Anyway, so the mayor said, it's on the agenda. That's simple. It should be as simple as possible. Matter of fact, I was on one council that even let people of the public ask for things to go on the council. And they did that. But it took somebody on the council says, yes, we need to add that to the agenda. As a representative of government, which you are, then you're representing us if there's something we want to talk about out in the public. And I'm not talking about just me, anybody. And if we think it's something that the city could have agenda item to address it, then that's what we would expect. So anyway, I look forward to the final draft to see what it really says. I didn't think we were going to be changing anything about the meeting structure or anything like that. It's just simple, how's it go on the agenda? And just answer that question. And so I just sum up, make it as easy as possible.
Thank you, Tom. And just so that you know, if someone asked to discuss the price of rice in China, I would probably not allow that. Oh, you're terrible. I know. I just wanted you to know that. All right, any other public comment? All right, so with the current discussion, it seems like we need a modified motion.
Yeah, so I see, so all the changes that Martin tracked down, I say we move to go forth, create a draft, create a resolution, and we approve.
With template A, with the changes
template A.
requested.
Template A with changes.
Yeah. We're going to remove the word without from the section that Councilmember Gorman identified. We're going to move section 17 up to section 10 and remove section 10. And we will stay with at least 2 council members are necessary in order to place an item on the agenda. Those are the changes that I've noted based on your discussion. If that's agreeable to all of you by consensus, we'll prepare that document and have a resolution ready for you for next meeting.
So do I have a second to Councilman Blade's motion?
Or you can do it by motion. Yeah.
Is there a motion?
He said he had a motion to.
I'd second that then.
Okay. Motion and second. Is it a roll call or is it a?
Just vote.
Okay.
Electronic is fine.
There isn't one.
Okay.
So we'll do roll call. Mayor Endicott?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman? Mr. Gorman?
Oh, sorry, aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
All right. Next to committee reports. The Economic Development Committee, their next meeting will be October 6, 2025 in City Hall Conference Room B at the first floor at 5:15. The Finance Committee, their next meeting will be September 9th, 2025 at 5:30 in City Hall Conference Room B on the first floor. Infrastructure meeting, next meeting will be August 28th at 5 p.m. in City Hall Conference Room B, first floor. And Parks and Rec, their next meeting will be September 2nd at 5:30 in City Hall Council Chambers. Next, we move on to other committees, boards, or commissions. All right, so I was with LAFCO before this. We had an hour-long strategic plan workshop, which had been a time-intensive quantitative and qualitative survey that we had conducted to try and make a strategic plan for LAFCO going forward. And then there are a couple districts that are being or annexed, the north of the River Sanitary District, north of Bakersfield, and that was it from that meeting. Any other?
Got a question for you, Mr. Mayor. So when it comes to LAFCO, have you guys any further discussion about the hospital in the district that was being, I mean, it was just in discussion as far as I know?
So I know the hospital has been in contact with the healthcare district. I know that it will be an item on the agenda soon for LAFCO. That is not the only item that's on LAFCO that's impacting us. There's an issue with Inyokern. It was discussed tonight that the state of California has asked them to basically consolidate with the water district. And so far, they have not been willing to comply. And there will be, I think they have 6 months to respond to the thing from the state. And so we'll know more later on how that process goes.
I think at some point, and I know we're not to future agenda items, and I'm not recommending that we do, but we should probably, food for thought is, if there is going to be a case where the citizens of Ridgecrest can be taxed for something like the hospital, that should be a discussion that we're having. Because I can tell you that this community, from all the people I've talked to, are very conflicted. I'm talking deeply conflicted about that topic. So it's something that we should probably be mulling over, and you can have a discussion with staff and figure that out. But
Yeah, so the hospital district would allow them to put things on for a vote for an increase in tax. You are correct.
Yep. I think there's two different routes, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be the East Kern. They could have their own district. There's different things that could be done, and I think that if we're not talking about it or even considering it, that's a problem.
So I will say the creation of their own hospital district, that's going to be years down the road. So by joining the East Kern, this is a more expedient route for them to get into a hospital district and to stop being a privatized institution so that they can get grants and other federal funding.
Yep, but these things I know, but also there's a lot to be said for doing something the right way, not the expedient way. Okay. Don't want to get into a discussion, Martin? Just bring something up.
It's not really a committee or board or commission that I'm on, but I have been working with the hospital to get better VA care. They are in conversation with the VA on trying to, I don't know what that looks like right now. I know one of the proposals that I made was to have a satellite clinic at the hospital. That worked really well for me when I lived in Mississippi, and I was more than an hour and a half away from the local VA clinic. Basically, you go to a local outpost or whatever, and you actually have a telehealth appointment with someone in the VA. It was super helpful. It was really helpful for individuals who might not be technologically advanced in order to, I consider myself pretty tech savvy, but there are times where the VA app, when I'm doing telehealth for mental health, it's hard for me to access even that system. So having someone there that can know the system and can work through the system, I'm a big proponent of that. And, I've talked with the CEO and the CFO, and they're committed to trying, and I quote, to do the right thing for our veterans. So I just wanted to give them a shout out for that. All right, anything else? Committees, boards, commissions? City manager report?
Yes, I got one item. We did get the pool bid posted on the city webpage today, which starts the process. The actual plans will be eligible or ready for download off of the plan room this Friday. Process will take about 6 weeks. So we'll be doing a virtual bid walk of the project on September 9th, and then the bids will be opened on September 30th. Part of that process will be is that once we open up the bids, we'll take a look at them. Staff will then come back to council with a presentation on the bid in relation to any bid alternatives that might keep us within our budget. So you should expect, not unless we get a very good price, we'll come back, we'll accept the whole project. If not, then we'll have to skinny some of that down. That will obviously be a council decision, so staff will come back with that. So we're looking at a 393-day working contract, which is about 18 months to make sure that whoever builds this project will have time to complete it. So good news. We're out of the gate. Been a long time.
Mr. Strand, can you walk us through the different steps from now onwards? Now the bids are out, right?
Yeah,
So what happens next and what happens next till we break the ground?
Well, the bid announcement's out. It's been sent to a variety of contractors that our architect and aquatic design know that build these type public pool projects. It's also gonna be put on a public plan room. They'll be distributed to the contractors that subscribe to that. So basically, it's pretty broad-based, so then it gets to everybody, basically, that's qualified to do this. The contractors have time, obviously, it's complex. It's a pool, with buildings, with the pool property. So we have to give them time to be able to get their bids together, because most of these are gonna have to have a significant number of subcontractors, because not everybody does it all. We just don't have one contractor that within house can do all the electrical, the plumbing, everything, the low voltage, the computers, all themselves. So they have to put that out to their subs, and then the subs have to then return their quotes, and then they build this bid packet that comes out. When the big packet comes out, we have contracted through Wildan to do the assessment. So they will work with us to be able to examine the bids, to make sure if they're appropriate and correct, to make sure that the people who are bidding on the contract are qualified, that they've actually submitted a bond with the process, to get the project going.
So can I ask a question before that?
Sure.
So before that, does it have to come to the city council for approval of the bids?
Correct. Yeah, what I'm talking about, this is the process before the bids are actually submitted to the city.
Okay.
I'm kind of explaining to you what they have to do and why there's a timeline adjusted to this. So once we get all the bid packets, as they're working on the bid packets, we'll do what we call a virtual bid walk. In other words, because the land's already vacant, it's ready to go, they really don't need to see the actual site in person, so we'll do a bid walk. There'll be a point in time when they'll put what they call RFIs, request for information. In other words, they will get a hold of the city and our contractor, Wildan, and our architect, ask questions more specifically about the bid packet. We provide those answers back. At some point in time, we have a date in which the bid packets are due, at a certain time. We get to review, we open those bid packets on a certain date, I think it's September 30th. We open it up here at City Hall. The people who bid, the contractors normally will show up to see how they've done. We'll open it up, we'll show everybody what the bids are, and then staff will then work with Wildan after that to inspect the bids, to make sure that, one, they're responsive, like I said earlier, that they're qualified contractor, they're in good standing with the state, the whole 9 yards. Once that happens, obviously, we're looking at awarding to the lowest qualified bidder, and that's part in the packet. So if you're the lowest qualified bidder, we basically have to go with that person, except if there's an exception, that they didn't follow something, they didn't put the bid packet, they didn't follow the rules. That's part of the process of working with Wildan to make that assessment, right? Then staff will look at it, and we know what our budget number is. And so staff will then, we put in 5 bid alternatives, so we know that if the numbers come in greater than we think, we can remove some items to get the project within our budget. Now, hypothetically, if the project comes in $1 million more, and council deems that the item that we remove is something that they want, well, obviously, council can then approve us to use reserve funds to cover that amount. That's up to you as the council body. So staff will come back with the recommendation to council and a story. And we'll come back with what we think is reasonable for the council to vote on to award the contract. Council at that point in time can take a look at the ones, let's say we removed one item versus another, and council decides as a majority that they want that flipped. They want the other one instead of the one that staff recommended. That's your choice. You can make that recommendation at that point in time. So once council approves it, Then, we select a contractor. We normally would go into a little bit of a negotiation process because there's some things we can still negotiate before the final contract is awarded. Once we get through that negotiation part, you, the council, has authorized me for your vote to sign the contract. Once the contract's signed, I think we have about a 60-day mobilization period. In other words, once the contract's signed, they have 60 days to begin. There's a period of time, whether it's 60 or 30, there's a time period they have to begin. And once that contract begins, then that working day contract starts. Yeah, you issue a notice to proceed. And then we have a 393-day working contract. In other words, they have 393 days to finish the project, or else they could be subject to liquidated damages. And liquidated damages in this contract, I think, is $1,500 a day. Now, there are times that a city manager, because there's circumstances that are beyond everybody's control, that we will waive that time frame. We will add some days. It just depends on what's going on. I mean, if the contract's going well and they're going to be 20 days over because we had, an act of God, we had 20 days worth of rain here and they couldn't work, well, obviously, we're not going to hit them for liquidated damages, especially if we have a good relationship. So there's kind of a give and take. And hopefully, we're going to reach a point in time where the pool's going to be ready. Now, staff-wise, there's going to be a point in time when we're going to come back to council, and probably during the next budget cycle, to ask to hire staff to begin to staff up and prepare the programs for the pool. There'll be a period of time when we'll hire a pool manager, pool maintenance, and then that process will then begin of what programs are we going to then provide the community? What are the rates going to be? And so that process will begin. And hopefully, what we'll see is by the time the pool's done, you'll probably give it a couple more months because we have to have lifeguards. So we'll be able to start staffing up to part-time lifeguard staffing, and we get the pool going, and then there's going to be a period of time where we're going to be opening. So there's a lot of work that's going to go into this. And like I said,
I know you are doing a great job, I really appreciate that.
yeah, like I said.
But at the same time, I mean, this is being delayed, so I know you don't want to commit anything, but comfortably, can we say December of this year, we'll break ground?
Well, it just depends. If I have if the bid comes in at $30 million, then we're going to be readjusting stuff, right? So I'm not going to guarantee anything. I could just say.
I know you don't want to say.
I can tell you that we'll be opening up bids on September 30th.
Okay.
And you're more than welcome to be there when we open them up, because I will tell us a lot about what the finer details of this pool are going to be. Because there's some stuff in there that I really think that, I mean, obviously, living this project for the last 2 years, there are things that, in my mind, obviously this is your guys' decision, that I think that are alternatives that are probably more important than others for a variety of reasons. Some for me is it adds flexibility to do programs to increase revenue, so our subsidization level of the pool is less, right? That's a business decision. Others are more emotional, so it just depends. But obviously, the public will be part of this process too, so.
Thank you.
Not to go too deep into it, but I think I did.
Is there any way that we can make a motion that when we do shovel, like the break ground, that we can have Travis Reed dressed up like Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation to break ground? Is that a future agenda item?
I'm sure you don't have to.
You have the authority to do
We
that.
can do that? Okay.
I'm sure you don't even have to agendize that to make that happen, so I don't know. Anyway, like I said, if any council member has additional in-depth questions, please give me a call, I'll fill you in. But those are the virtual, we thought we were gonna have an actual walk, which was gonna be, kind of nice to see how many, contractors actually show up. But it really makes no sense to drag people from Sacramento or wherever they're at to come down to look at a vacant lot when we can just do it virtually. So the big thing for council, if you want to show up, would be that day of September 30th when we open up the bids. we'll have a pretty good idea, because the city clerk will read them out loud. And so there's, of course, this is a big project, so there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be interested in bidding on this, because there is money to be made. So, anyway, that's all I have.
All right. All right. Next, we have future agenda items. Are there any items people would like to see on future agendas? I would like to ask if we could have some discussion of Placer AI in the near future. The expectations, alternatives, benefits. I guess, do I
Yeah,
have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I think you and I discussed this in the car a week or so ago, so I don't know how necessary this is gonna be.
Okay.
But we
What-
can talk about it more offline.
Okay, I didn't know we had one individual from the public wanting an update.
I can explain that to him after the meeting.
Okay.
It's not a big deal.
Any other future agenda items? Other than Travis Reed is Cousin Eddie that one will be on next week, or next time, please, I hope. All right, seeing none, next item is mayor and council comments. I love when you start off, Councilman Gorman.
Yeah, I'll set the tone.
There we go.
The big news that'll be under our noses and on our TV screens will be redistricting. Its volume has gone up a lot lately, and indeed, I think the state legislature is going to have to make a voting decision at the end of this week whether or not they're going to get away with a November ballot item to change the rules to have a midterm redistricting session here in California. Stepping away from the issue slightly to take a long view, the poet John Donne, I get to paraphrase him, as you're laboring out in the peat fields and you hear the village church bell toll its funeral dirge, you send not to ask for whom that bell tolls. It tolls for us. We're all diminished when any one of us is diminished. And I think the representative democracy that we have still in California does affect this small red island in a vast blue California ocean, one way or another. And so I'll be expressing myself in Facebook, perhaps in the newspaper, and those words I use will be mine and mine alone. I won't be representing anybody but myself, and I'll be talking about the issue and redistricting. Thought I'd let you know. Thank you.
Well said. Councilman Haven?
I just want to thank Councilman Gorman for bringing that topic up. So if you've read up on it, it looks pretty dismal, and hopefully it gets opposed. But anyway.
Councilman Blades? Councilman Rajaratnam? All right. So I like to write a list of things that I'm going to talk about. That was one of the very last things. So I will add on to that. But one of the things I love to do as a professor was talk about things that have happened on this day. And on this day in 1812, and I feel this is fitting, seeing as we service a U.S. military Navy installation, the United States frigate Constitution earned its name Old Ironsides from catching a blaze from the British vessel. Another thing, sports are starting. Please go out and support our student athletes. Thursday, Burroughs tennis is against Bishop Union. Burroughs volleyball faces Barstow. Friday, Burroughs football plays at Tehachapi. Saturday, Emmanuel Christian School is at Bakersfield for their football program. Also Saturday, Burroughs cross country, tennis, and volleyball are in action. So, you know, as the weeks go on, going out and supporting and cheering on our student athletes, it's fun. It's fun to see sports live. I will do it because my son is playing football, but I also will try to make it out to as many other games as I possibly can to support those student athletes. You know, they give up a lot of time for practice, and you know, it's tough to get out there to perform. So having fans and support present, I think it would mean the world to them. The next thing, I want to commend Representative Vince Fong. Him along with Representative Brownlee, Representative Obernolte, I'm probably mispronouncing that one, Representative Whitesides, and Representative Kiley authored a letter to the Secretary of the Navy encouraging NOC WD to maintain their flag officer billet. This is a huge thing for our community. Because, as you've seen, our current flag officer, Admiral Hash, has worked hand in hand with the city, with the community to maintain, you know, services. You see Admiral Hash out, him and his wife, and so I think that this is a huge issue for our city, and I want to commend the members of Congress for authoring that letter. It's a public document. I have it here if anyone would like to read it. Next, we had our, it passed today in the Texas Senate that they are redistricting. As a former college professor of political science, I have read the Constitution more times than I care to admit. Article 1, Section 2 gives the authority for reapportionment every 10 years following the census. The very act of Texas and potentially California, other states that might look into this, it is against the Constitution to do what they are doing. I hope that better angels prevail. Because it takes away the right of, this is all political theater, in order to gain a couple seats, to try and maintain a majority, and then on the other side to try and combat the actions of Texas. So while I denounce California for looking into this, I also condemn Texas for starting this whole process. And in relation to the pool, I had a quote that I wanted to read from Franklin Roosevelt. The virtues are lost in self-interest as rivers are lost in the sea. The political process of our country and the patience of our people must not be abused. The things that we do take time. And so I know it's taken a long time, but as City Manager Strand discussed, there's a long and lengthy process ahead of us. We are just getting started. I know we all look forward to that pool, and I have full faith in our city staff and the process that they have going forward, that we will have the best pool that we can possibly have. And, you know, whenever we can jump in and we can enjoy it, we can hear the kids enjoying it, or the classes are happening, or the movie in the pool, which I still hope is Jaws for the first one, it's going to be sweeter than ever. So that is all I have to say. And so with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for standing up to speak, both of you. I appreciate it.